technically we flipped the H4 structure back to bearish, so in theory it should only create a lower low.
Yeah. I might actually even share my screen to start the thing. But in any case, it is coming up on 5 past, so we will kick it off. Hopefully, let it all go to 0. Hopefully people will join as the stream goes on. But yes, welcome one and all to this week's edition of the Chroma Team Roundtable, where we talk through the market, we look at some charts, and we give you kind of our thoughts, feelings, and opinions on where we are at the moment and where things are likely to go over the next 7 days. We try and do this every week, so the idea is to set you up for the week to come as best as we possibly can. Big welcome to my very, very smart, very, very handsome, very, very intelligent, talented guy and a panelist today. We have Luke, Osbra, Perdu, and Victor. Welcome to the team. And if there's anyone else who joins, I see there's a few others in the chat. You're more than welcome to jump on the stage with us. Just let us know. But yeah, lots to talk about today. I think the first thing we're going to run through is BTC and where we are at the moment. I was just looking at the chart before we came on. Obviously, I'm actually going to share my chart, a rare Follis chart share here to start the stream. But yeah, I just have a little bit to say about this. So this is for the first time in a few days. I think I have a pretty clear read on the market here. And I actually spoke about this yesterday. I said, what the fuck, Victor? Are you able to see things or?
Wait, what? Oh no, I can see things. I replied to Hasbullah who called us the Goon Squad.
Okay. Sorry. Enough follows charts for the rest of the day, says Perdu. Yeah, so I shared this yesterday. I said that this looked to me like we were just in a low time frame range, and signs of acceptance or rejection if we pushed above the range would be crucial. We put in this high here, and I saw a few people saying that maybe the top was in, but I was also aware that this was Monday high, and Monday high, as you all know, typically acts as a liquidity magnet, especially when there's a bit of momentum going into that move into the rest of the week. So yeah, Tuesday came and pretty quickly we got this sweep. And actually I was in bed at this point, but that would have been a nice trigger to start looking for shorts. Sweep Monday high above this low time frame range. And then you're kind of looking for signs of weakness. I mean, realistically, the H4 kind of H1 structure didn't break until we got this low taken here. And that only happened 2 or 3 hours ago. So I guess that is probably your confirmation that the trend has shifted here. And no real retrace after this. We got a little bounce at value area high, but nothing really that I would consider tradable. And now we're just kind of moving back down into the value area. So I spoke about this a lot, and Victor uses this. A few other traders in the server use this. I'm sure Luke uses this all the time. But when you have volume profile here, your value area is the first standard deviation of volume, and typically these present really nice levels of resistance and support. They are volume-based levels, so it kind of removes an element of discretion in terms of how you plot them, because the volume, at least in a given chart, doesn't lie. And here we are seeing, an attempted push by the buyers, by the bulls, of price out of this value area, and then an emphatic rejection and a move back inside the value area here, which is a textbook failed auction. This is your failed auction, and usually when you get one of these, it means that a rotation towards the other side of the value area is in play here. So I think, especially with these ugly looking lows here, right? Your equal lows, your poor lows, whatever you want to call them. I just feel like there is a very obvious sell side draw on price here, and it is previous weekly low. Might not get that, but I think based on what I'm seeing here and the fact that, we still have Friday to come this week, and Fridays have, with few exceptions, I mean, there was an exception either last week or the week before where we had a bullish Friday, but Friday in 2026 has been the bloody day. And I think it's kind of one of those days that you can look at and think if there's downside to come, then that might be the day that we get it. So that's the way I'm kind of looking at things now. I actually think the BTC chart is exceptionally clean at the moment. I think the price action that I woke up to today has been nice. I look at this and I immediately have a decent read on it. And I think now I'm kind of looking here. I'm not longing this, certainly. I think that if anything, I would look for shorts on a move back up to retest the value area high here. But that's kind of my read on BTC here. I think it doesn't look fantastic, and I think like even zooming out, I know we are arguably at like high time frame range low support here, but there's a lot of momentum here, and arguably this is just a correction which will result in a kind of a continuation of the structure to the downside. But that's kind of my read on things. Curious to get your opinion, Perdu, because I'm anticipating you'll have a slightly different read, and I would love to hear that.
I am short right now on BTC because of the reasons that you said, where we sweep Monday high and we also sweep a daily fair value gap, and then you break the H1 structure, you go back inside the value area. So that for me is definitely a short signal. Now my TP is right here at this support zone, but I might just move it to the point of control of the range because it's also the middle of the range. That seems like a good confluence, and it still gives me above 1R. But yeah, I'm leaning bearish right now. My invalidation is, of course, making higher highs outside the range. But I don't think that will happen. I don't think we'll stop before we reach this POC, because something that I've noticed lately is when price is ranging, it tends to find balance at these high volume nodes. And of course, this one is the highest one, so it's the POC. But those are levels where price is kind of balanced. And then as we approach levels with lower volume, it usually moves really fast to those, or it rejects really fast from those. So something that we saw on the high that we just put in, we have this, what I call a volume valley or low volume node. This is right here. We rejected it really fast. And I don't really see any of those low volume nodes or volume valleys here. You can make the argument that it's this one, but it's not that sharp like here. So that's why I don't think that we'll get a rejection from this area, and we will find balance at the place where we have lots of volume, which is the point of control. After that, we'll see if we get a bounce, retest value area high, or if we move straight through the range lows or value area low, I don't know. But at least I'm confident enough that we will move towards the point of control of this range. Now, what happens if we go to the lows of the range? Because that has been a topic that we just debated right now. Perdu says that we shouldn't really go to the lows. Osbro said that, Follis said that we might go to the lows. Anyway, I think that that is a really good support level because it aligns with the support from this range that we had before we put in the latest all-time high, and now we retested it. It held as a support. So in my opinion, I don't know how we will react from here, but if we lose this support, I think it's, I don't want to say game over, bullish cycle is over, but it's going to be very concerning for me if we accept below 100K on the daily, or definitely accepting it below it on the H4. So we'll monitor to see what happens there, but for the moment, I'm short towards the point of control of the range. And another reason is that we broke the H4 structure to bearish because this is our highest high. This is the second highest high, so this is the low between them. This was our break of structure. We definitely closed an H4 candle below it with displacement. So despite the fact that now we are respecting a bullish fair value gap, it is a bullish POI in a bearish trend, and usually those only create lower lows. They are not a bottom. So yeah, this is why I'm bearish. This is why I'm short.
Thanks for that, Victor. Victor, I think there's an issue with your camera. No one can seem to see it, but
Really?
it might be a Discord issue as well. Maybe try restarting it. I think I can't see it anyway. But yeah, I want to move on to altcoins then, because I think that there has been some interesting developments, I'll put it that way, over the last 7 days since we had our last one. I want to touch on, and Perdu kind of mentioned it there, the U.S. government reopening. We'll come to that afterwards. But for now, I just want to talk about altcoins. In particular, we've had the Trump ecosystem coins pumping recently. Melania pumped was it like 2x yesterday, and it is already retraced. Let me just pull it up exactly. Yeah, it did a clean 2x in 12 hours, which is kind of funny to think. And then minus 40% now to open up the day today, which is just hilarious. Trump has also been doing moves, not quite to the same extent, but I mean, they're still two of the only coins that are in the green from the pre-1010 liquidation event. So over the last 31, 32 days, they're one of the only coins in the top 100, 200 that are in the green. We also have World Liberty Fi doing some probably less even than Trump and Melania, but definitely some dodgy price action. We'll put it that way. Some criminal looking price action. But I'm curious to get your thoughts on these coins, Perdu. You are the resident altcoin specialist. Are you trading these coins? Are you ignoring these coins? Are you seeing these coins as opportunity? Are you seeing them as something to stay away from? I remember there was a narrative a couple of weeks ago that maybe CZ was joining the World Liberty team as like an advisor, and that was why Trump had pardoned him, and that kind of caused some pretty whiplash PA on World Liberty Fi, which I found hard to trade, to be honest. I got in and out of a couple of positions, but not the easiest asset to trade. But I mean, there's an argument that all three of those coins, let's maybe leave Melania out of it, but Trump and World Liberty Fi, they do look strong, especially compared to the rest of the altcoin market.
Yeah, definitely. But the price action to me has been really untradeable on Trump, and especially on things such as Melania and WLFI. I tried to see. I mean, it's really like you get these massive pumps on the 1 hour. Like this is a 1 hour chart, so you had a pump of like 32% overnight. It was 4 o'clock over here for me. So yeah, I missed that, and it's mostly untradeable, and then you get this slow bleed down. So I'm not really a big fan of trading these coins. But you have some interesting developments with altcoins, especially Uniswap today and yesterday. The ZK roll-up narrative, of course, with Starknet and with ZK. But for now, I'm mostly focused on Uniswap because I think the narrative is pretty strong. And let me clean up this chart. Wait, I'll get a clean chart.
Did you see that Arthur Hayes bought some?
Oh, really? Just yet? Or oh fuck.
Just like an hour ago, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, let me share.
I mean, even a broken clock is right twice a day, so maybe he'll catch a banger on this one.
He bought $250,000 a couple hours ago.
Oh, really? Okay. He probably bought at 10 or so. So hopefully it's not gonna roll over now. He bought. Usually he marks the local top on that one. But for me, the narrative is pretty strong. What they're gonna do is they had a proposal to burn uni tokens, and they're gonna turn on the protocol fee switch. So yeah, that should be really bullish for Uniswap in general. And it should be I don't know the exact numbers, but it would be a burn of like around 100 million uni from Treasury over the next few weeks if the proposal is accepted. So that should be pretty big for Uniswap. We all know that buyback programs and burns have been really bullish for altcoins in general. What we saw, for example, that's why Pump is holding very strong at the moment. That's why Resolve was pumping a lot because they also had a buyback program. This did like a 250% from the lows. Currently facing big resistance level, but all these buyback programs or burn programs have been pretty bullish for altcoins in general. And same goes for Pump. The team has actively been buying back their tokens. So I think these are the altcoins you want to have your eyes on for now.
And what do you think? I'll stay with you for the moment. What do you think about the privacy narrative? Obviously, ZEC, Zcash, and I think XMR, and maybe a couple others were pumping pretty hard. ZEC obviously did like a 10x in 40 days or something, and Monero was also ripping. And a lot of people were saying that there was going to be a rotation. Money was going to rotate from ZEC into XMR, and that narrative would continue. But I read some stuff. I mean, I'm not convinced about this privacy narrative at all. My personal opinion is that as the space becomes increasingly regulated, the necessity for privacy coins is probably going to become lesser and lesser to the point where I'm not sure, are they going to be even allowed or required, or I don't see that they're not necessarily going to be filling a gap. I actually think they're going
No.
to be regulated out of existence. So I'm not sure. What's
Yeah,
your
yeah,
take
yeah.
on that?
Yeah, I agree with that. And usually, the thing is when you have like one first mover, like we saw with Zcash with Zec, and it moves on its own. The moment that starts to distribute a bit, and people will start chasing the betas, like we saw Mina pump, we saw Monero pump, and that's usually a red flag. Then when the first mover is stalling, people are chasing the betas, they go like they accelerate really fast. So you have these really this short time span of like pump and dumps from, for example, Mina and for example Monero, and that's usually a red flag when a narrative dies off. So yeah, for me that was a pretty concerning thing regarding Zcash and the whole privacy narrative. So I think it starves the lonely dead for now. Yeah, for sure.
I think the death toll for this, or the kind of the I don't know, the canary in the coal mine for me is increased TradFi involvement in crypto, because like as institutions, as DATs, as whatever, these corporate entities get more and more involved in crypto, like they're not going to be able to touch
No.
privacy coins. Like how does, like, if you're like fucking Goldman Sachs or like JP Morgan, or if you're this big investment bank and you're, I don't know, you're getting involved in crypto and you're trading like BTC and ETH, like how can you go, how could the investment department go to like the compliance department and say, oh yeah, we've these shady ass privacy coins on our books? Like they it wouldn't be allowed to happen at all. And I actually think that as the space becomes more institutionalized and uh, more involvement from TradFi, that actually there's going to be less of a utility for privacy tokens rather than more of a utility for privacy tokens, which I appreciate might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but I genuinely think that that's the way it's going to go. As regulation increases, these coins are going to be regulated out of existence. But I'm curious to get your take on. Sorry, go on, Purdue.
Yeah, still like traditional markets in crypto also use like dark pools. Like Zcash doesn't use dark pools. It's just enabling privacy on their layer one. But it's not. It hasn't been really. They're not gonna use like Zcash to hide their transactions. They will have plenty of other tools to get their books fixed in a different way. So I think Zcash is definitely just a narrative by Barry Silbert, just like with Tao. He's like an expert in pushing these narratives and pushing them out to the top until he cashes out and makes a lot of money with Grayscale. So yeah, definitely a good trick by Barry Silbert once again.
100%. Victor, I'm curious, have you been trading these crime season coins, Trump, Melania, World Liberty Fi, or have you been trading other alts? What alts have your attention at the moment?
I have not traded those piece of shit coins, which was, I'm sorry, that's how I want to call them.
Definitely, yeah.
But I want to draw your attention to something. Um, if you guys remember, when we put in the current all-time high, and I think, let me get the exact date. Let me share my screen so that you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm doing live research. Sorry, not the current all-time high, but the one before, the one that we put in on Trump's inauguration day. That was the 20th of January. And if we look at the price of Trump, when did it put the all-time high? 19th of January. Okay, let's look at Melania. When did it pump like crazy? I think it was, yeah, the same day. So by all means, these coins pumping like this is a very bad signal for crypto. That will be the top again this time around. Of course, we don't know that. It will be hindsight if it is. But still, having these coins that don't do anything pump out of a sudden, that's a bad sign. I cannot stress that enough. That's my only take about these coins. That it's bad, the fact that they're pumping.
I mean, there are so many top signal coins in the market right now. I was just about to type that out in the chat. Like ZEC is a top signal coin, and has been for the last two cycles. When it pumps, it usually means that the end times are nigh. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's also one of those things where because the sample size is so small that you can't
Yeah,
reasonably infer too much. But
definitely.
yeah, yeah, definitely been some like even like ETH BTC pumping usually comes towards the end of the cycle, and we got a pretty big ETH BTC pump. Was it at the end of the summer, August, September, something like that? But yes, anyway, Osbra, have you been trading these coins? Have you been trading these privacy coins? Have you been trading the Trump eco coins? What altcoins have your attention at the moment? Have you been participating in this ongoing privacy narrative, or have you been staying away?
No, I've been staying away. I am very, very aligned with Vic, the boomer thing, you know. And like, no, I didn't trade them. I do believe these coins are not meant to last anyway. I think it's just gonna disappear, you know. These Melania, these Trump tokens, they just no, Vic, I'm not calling you a boomer. It's because while you were talking, someone called you a
Yeah.
boomer in the chat.
Ah, okay.
No, no. So yeah, no, I didn't trade them. I don't believe in them. And the privacy thing, how not to sound bitter. I also first, I think you guys making a very good point. With institutions going and stuff is going to be regulated out. And also, I think it's that very old narrative of being um, under the under the radar, like to be low key, private, etc. It just I think it's something that excites like people who just join crypto. They think they're cypherpunks, stuff like that. But it's not gonna last long, I guess. And a fun story: when I was in Tokyo, I went to a shisha bar, and I heard a guy talking on the phone about crypto, and so I started to talk with him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm all in Monero because this is the criminal coins," you know. And like that guy didn't know nothing about crypto. Like he bought BTC for the very first time at like 110K, so he's at a loss. And he was like, and my second bag is Monero because this is the coins of the criminals, you know. And it was like a 20 years old guy, like just I don't know, like he just it was a high school dropped out. I think dropout, yeah, it's something like that. And so yeah, it was fun to me because I knew it was no, it's not a yakuza. He was a French guy. He was a French guy. Um, so yeah, it's fun because when I heard that, I was like, oh gosh. And of course, it's the like the narrative that is trendy right now, and we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I think it was something similar to a top signal, So yeah, I don't believe in it, and it's hard because we can extend what I'm saying to the whole crypto market. I think people are getting much more educated regarding the market in general, not only crypto, but regarding the market. They are like smarter, and probably most people understood that 90% of the crypto market is just a vapor wave, and that it's not meant to go anywhere, that it just does nothing. And all the crypto projects that have been around since 2014, 15, maybe even 17, but just made like a lot of money. And now, like, what did they deliver to the real world? Like, prove me wrong, but I think it's close to nothing. And people start to notice. For some people it can take more time, but at the end of the day, everyone will notice that absolutely none of these promises to make like a world revolution has been delivered. And yeah, that's my take. Like, long story short, I don't believe in it.
Nice and bullish. Yeah, I mean, I think you only need to look at previous cycles and to see how many of like the top 20, top 50 coins are still around 5, 6 years later, to understand that, yeah, most of these coins are going to zero. Most of these coins are flash in the pan, and they have their upside, they have their hype, they have their day in the sunlight. And then they kind of just drift off into oblivion, and kind of no one buys them, and there's no interest in them anymore. I think the coins that stick around for multiple cycles are the exception rather than the rule. And this idea that this idea that your watch list or all the strong, amazing tech coins on your watch list are going to be still here in 2030 is a bit ridiculous. I mean, there's Bitcoin, there's ETH, there's Solana, and then after that, the list gets a little bit spurious, I would say, at the best of times. Probably hype is probably here to stay as well. I would add that to the list. But after that, I mean, if you think that fart coin is still going to be a hot property in in 4 or 5 years time, then I have a bridge to sell you. But maybe, who knows? I'm sure people said the same thing about Dogecoin back in the day, and here we are now with a potentially a Dogecoin ETF not far away in relative terms. Luke, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the altcoin market at the moment. Obviously, we've spoken a little bit about the privacy narrative, spoken a little bit about the crime season, the Trump eco narrative, and Perdu also mentioned this emerging Uniswap narrative, and we saw some coins pump yesterday as a result of that. I think Aero is up, obviously Uni is up, Arthur Hayes buying Uni, that might be a top signal. Are there any altcoins that have your attention at the moment? Any charts that you're looking at, any narratives that you're paying attention to?
Not really. It's still kind of the same for me as I was talking about last week. If I see something technical on an alt that I know isn't complete dog shit, then I may jump into it. Like I've tried along today on Tau and Pengu. These are ones that I think Tau has lasting power because although I think the AI narrative is close to a top anyway, or has already topped, and Pengu being probably the best example that we have in the whole of crypto of a community that's actually managed to do well and has attention and has managed to maintain that attention. It managed to last the whole death of NFTs and became the most successful NFT project that I think there's probably ever been. Like putting aside the punks and all of these kind of things that were during the hype, I think Pengu or Pudgy Penguins is the one that's really done very well. So those tokens are interesting enough to me, like hype and stuff as well is interesting, and I think the technicals on those both look relatively decent. The thing with the privacy tokens is for me, it's old tech. I mean, every chain these days has privacy built in. Any token can be a privacy coin if it wants to be now. It's not like it's nothing revolutionary anymore. Even wallets can be private if they want to be, and everything can be private if it wants to be these days. And also, a lot of these old privacy tokens are still proof of work. And I think proof of work is going to be dead by the next cycle. I don't think there's value in that anymore. I think what we're seeing right now is a lot of these old masternodes getting the last of extracting the maximum out of the last little bit of value that they can. If they've had GPUs running or whatever for the last few years, then they're just trying to sell those tokens at the highest price possible. I know that's definitely the case with Zen and Zcash and Dash, and I don't know if Monero is still. Yeah, Monero is probably still proof of work, but no one is going to be mining it because there's just no value in that at all. So for me, it's just extracting the last little bit of value from these proof of work tokens before that becomes a thing of the past. And I was going to say one other thing. I can't remember what it was I was going to say. But it's the altcoin market in general for me is still not that interesting. I like to trade when there's momentum, and we just don't have momentum at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. I completely get that. And I actually think that altcoins for me have been, I won't say less exciting because there's still opportunity, but I've been so much wearier when it comes to buying into narratives or buying into pumps or, getting excited about green candles this cycle because the liquidity just has not been there for sustained upside for 99.9% of coins. Obviously, we have incredible runners like ZEC, we had hype, we had the perp dex meta, but even a lot of those have retraced. ZEC starting to pull back now. The perpdex meta retraced a lot of those, retraced their full upside. So it really still is the hot ball of money rotating from one coin into the next without a lot of sustained bid on a lot of coins. I think that has turned a lot of altcoin traders this cycle into BTC maxis for one reason or another, and it's pretty unsurprising. I want to move on now to the US government reopening and kind of what that means for the market, what that means for TradFi equities, what that means for commodities, and also, of course, what that means for crypto. One point that Perdu was making in our team chat is that, it's going to have an effect on CPI and PPI data this month, which are coming on Thursday and Friday. Polymarket is giving an 86% chance at the moment that the US government will reopen in the next 3 days. I know that the government has had meetings today or are going to have meetings today about reopening. So yeah, I think it's all but going ahead. It's just a matter of timing and figuring out how that's going to look. Osbra, I'm curious to get your take here. How has that affected the market? And how will it continue to affect the market? And what should we expect if we can get a US government reopening in the next, let's say, day or two in advance of these data releases at the end of the week?
It means we had a nice conversation about it the last time. It means that first, as you said, yeah, with Perdu, we're gonna have data being released again. So inflation data, labor market data, and obviously it's going to move the markets like it used to do a month and a half ago. So it will add a bit more difficulty to the market. It will be a bit more spicy, to say the least, and we needed it because the conditions are way too easy right now, I guess. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that it's going to obviously how can we say, ignite the spendings again from the US consumers, because a lot of people are not being paid right now because of the government shutdown. So they're going to receive their paychecks. They're going to obviously to spend these paychecks to buy groceries, stuff. So it might have a negative effect on inflation. So I would suggest to monitor closely the CPI, PPI, etc. Because automatically it's going to have a negative effect, at least a month over month. Now, in terms of market liquidity, talking about the market impact, it could be a positive impact. The question that I have to ask, however, is are people, like, imagine you haven't been paid for like 2 months, like your priority would be to like buy shitcoins or buy stocks or whatever. I'm not sure about it. Maybe some people will, but is it going to be enough to make the market pump? I'm not sure. But in theory, then yeah, it should bring more liquidity to the market. And we also talked about the TGA, which is the saving account, of the US government. For now, it's like up like crazy. Yeah, buy food, wrestling, exactly what we said a couple seconds ago. So yeah, the saving account of the US government was up like crazy, and it's still up like crazy. And the fact that they will be able to spend again, obviously, will bring liquidity to the market, and this is what the market desperately needs right now. So I don't want to say it's bullish, because I like to be nuanced. So I would say, in theory, to summarize, in theory, it's good news for the market, but we have to always bring a bit of nuance, because the underlying stuff that will happen following the government reopening, as I said, just want to repeat very, very quickly. People are going to spend, so potentially a negative impact on the inflation, and also I'm not sure that the priority of people who haven't been paid for 2 months would be to invest in risk on assets, and if they do, might not be on Thoughtcoin, Popcat, XPL, etc., etc.
XPL is in the same category as Farcoin and Popcat. Oh my goodness.
Yes, sorry,
That's-
man. It was a small shot, a cheap
Well,
shot.
I mean, I mean, I'm down bad on that coin. I have zero exposure to that coin currently, so I don't mind too much. But I am down bad. It's exactly the same as Pump for me. I think with Pump, I was down like 20 or 25K trying to catch the bottom, and I gave up. And like a week later, it pumped. It did like a 3x. So I have a funny feeling this exact same thing is going to happen where I'm down like 20K trying to long this thing now, and it's just breaking my heart every time. And as soon as I give up completely, I'm going to check back on the chart a week later, and it's going to be trading at like $1. But that's the way it always goes. That's the way it always goes. Yeah, XPL. I mean, the team haven't to speak about XPL for a second because you know I'm interested in it. I mean, it's one of those coins where you look at the chart and you just think this thing has to do, even if it's only going to be a mean reversion bounce. This thing has to start giving some upside now. Like let me just show you the let me just share my screen here because the chart itself doesn't look terrible. Is this? Am I sharing it? Yeah. The chart itself doesn't look that bad. I mean, arguably, it's done this interesting thing where after filling the 10-10 wick, it kind of put in this low and then it broke structure with this bounce. And since then, it has arguably been putting in, not here obviously, but arguably been putting in higher highs, higher lows. I mean, arguably, this is just internal structure. But like, if this kind of continues, then you're expecting something good. The thing I don't like about it is that the team has been all but silent over the last like 2 months or something like that. There has been next to no word from them, no bull posting the project, no timelines, no roadmaps, that's not exactly what you want to see, to be honest. Screen jitter, you can't see it. Chart not loading for you. Can everyone see the
No, I
chart that I'm
cannot.
sharing
I
here?
cannot see either. Just a
Yeah,
sec.
Discord is stupid. I don't think they have enough bandwidth for such calls, which is stupid as hell.
Okay, well it's don't worry guys, you haven't missed too much. I'll post it in the chat now. It's just XPL. It's the worst chart in crypto. So you haven't missed anything. But yeah, I mean, it's still on my watch list. It's still a coin that I'm looking at for good and bad reasons. I just have a funny feeling with this thing that it's not going to take, it's like a kind of a tinderbox. It's not going to take a lot for it to bounce even back to 50 60 cent, whatever it is. XPL, yeah, I mean that's not a good looking chart for sure, but I don't know.
Yeah, if you can close that long now, then that'll be good for me because I'm also long. So just close it and then it can bounce.
Oh, the XPL long. No, thankfully I'm not actually in the XPL long anymore. I closed it. I closed it, and immediately after I closed my long for a $3,000 loss, it bounced. It bounced like 20% the following day. So no, next time I'm long XPL and I close the long, I'll give you guys a heads up so you can all long my close level.
Yeah, I got my TP off of that just after you closed actually, but I'm still in it. Stops at break even. I'm surviving that at the moment, but
yeah, I think Tim is in XPL as well. I think there was a few of us. I think there was at one point there was like 4 analysts that were long XPL, which always is a little bit worrying. But in any case, it is what. I'm curious to go to our panelists now. Obviously, we've heard from Osbro. Does anyone else have any takes on, particularly on the U.S. government reopening? I mean, there are a lot of bullish catalysts in the water right now, and this is something that a point I made in my channel yesterday. We have the U.S. government reopening. We have potentially bullish data releases coming at the end of the month. We have quantitative tightening coming to an end in like 3 weeks' time, right? And that means potential QE on the horizon. We have rate cuts all but guaranteed next month. I won't say all but guaranteed, but it's looking likely that we'll get at least a 25 bip rate cut, if not a 50 bip. I know that guy, the Trump appointee. Oh, what's his name? It escapes me at the moment. I have it
The
written down.
governor.
Yeah, Mirin, the federal governor, or sorry, the Federal Reserve governor who Trump appointed, who's basically he's like a mouthpiece for Trump. Anything he says, you can tell it's coming straight from Trump. He is pushing now for a 50 bip rate cut in December, and this ties in with the last 2 rate cuts we've had where he dissented in favor of a greater rate cut both times. The stimulus checks, everyone's getting a $2,000 check. There is a lot in the water that, leads me to think that risk on assets should be having a good time. and yet still we're seeing kind of lethargic price action from majority of altcoins, and even BTC, arguably against equities, against commodities, has just been an underperformer in the last few months. I'm curious to get you guys' thoughts. How are you viewing this? How are you reconciling these things, right? When the fundamentals are telling you one thing, but the chart are telling you another thing.
Just wanted to add an unless to what you said, to all the things that you said. It's fun because we have a lot of bullish catalysts. You're absolutely right, especially that stimulus check. The last time it happened, it marked the bottom, and we had an insane rally. But one question for you, how do they finance that stimulus check?
I guess taxes, right?
Tariffs,
yeah, that's
right?
another
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
What would happen if the Supreme Court rules out the tariffs?
that's a good
All of
idea.
the things that you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about the internal workings of the government to know how that works, but I mean, they wouldn't roll back, would it?
They would roll back. They said that they could also refund the countries who paid for the tariff.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, Osbert, can you repeat what you said about the tariffs? Yeah, go on, Osbert.
Yeah, but basically, I just said that Trump is pushing hard about the tariff. He's saying that he wants to pay the $2,000 stimulus check to U.S. citizens thanks to the tariff. I think he's playing a chess game because right now they're in an argument against the courts, and basically, right after they announced that they're going to have that argument, Trump says these things. I think it's to have the sympathy of the US citizens, oh yeah, tariff are so great, it's going to make us rich, blah blah blah. So yeah, obviously he's trying to push. But yeah, what I said is he wants to finance the stimulus, the $2,000, thanks to tariff. And the problem is, if the Supreme Court rules out the tariff and say it's illegal, then first that plan is going to be cancelled. But even worse, they said that they could refund all the money that has been collected from the tariff. So it would be Trump is right. He's not often right, but he is right. It would be catastrophic for the U.S. economy if the Supreme Court goes against him. Because imagine you collected billions and billions and billions, and you have to refund. And also in terms of image and trust, what do you reflect as the first superpower of the world? You get humiliated by your own Supreme Court, and you have to give money back to other countries. Imagine Trump having to give money back to China.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good from an optics point of view at the very least. Yeah, that's interesting. I actually hadn't considered that, but yeah, that makes a ton of sense. It definitely is. I think the next few days we can probably safely assume that there's a decent amount of headline risk in the market. By which I mean that I think people need to be paying attention to how these kind of macro catalysts unfold and what the results of these things are, because that's going to affect the charts in a pretty sizable way. I think that he also said tariffs could serve to pay back the national debt. Oh, okay, so if that rolls back, then
I think that would be very bad, very very bad for the market.
Yeah, just watching a few random coins pump here. ALK is pumping. I just saw Aster pump, and then it retraced the entire upside. Was anyone watching that? Was there news for that?
I don't know, but people asked me to look at Aster while I was streaming an hour and 30 minutes ago, and I just saw it retrace. So I actually said during the stream that that's not a good sign, and I wouldn't long that.
It pumped at 10% and then retraced almost the entire thing. Interesting. Tariffs are a zero-sum game. Would be almost impossible, as reciprocal tariffs would also have to be refunded. That's true. That's a good point. Do you want to expand on that, Luke?
Yeah, for that, I don't really see it happening. I think it's just headlines again. I think because so much has gone on. Countries have tariffed the US has tariffed other countries. I think if they have to rewind everything, it's just going to be too much of a ball ache. I think they can just draw a line in the sand on it and move on. I think that's probably what we're going to see, and hopefully what we're going to see. But yeah, if the US then has to refund all the tariffs that they've charged all the other countries, then it will be the same thing that has to come back to them from the other countries, and then there's legal stuff that has to go on everywhere else, which I just would be very surprised if anything like that does happen, but you never know. It's Trump.
Exactly. Yeah, it's hard to predict what way he's going to go, what direction he's going to go with things that might seem obvious to us. But yeah, I think as well he is a kind of a disdain for the norms, especially when it comes to government functions. To the point where like a friend of mine actually over the weekend was arguing that he was saying like there's zero chance that Trump will run for a third term, because it's illegal and like well, it's not illegal technically, I think, but it's no president has ever done it unless there were extenuating circumstances, and he wouldn't do it. It would be revolt in the streets. And I was like, man, he does not care about any of that shit. He would absolutely do it if it served his own interest. But also that's something that I think that's one of the reasons that we're seeing the Trump eco so strong at the moment is like he is. I think he's almost setting things up for, if not running for a third term, then definitely examining the potential to run for a third term. And I think that's something that we should all have in the back of our heads, at least as a possibility, that this man could genuinely run for a third presidential term. He can't run for a third term unless you change the constitution. Well, actually, we had just last century, we had, is it one of the Roosevelts? I can't remember who ran. Was it Franklin D. Roosevelt? Franklin D. Didn't he run? Didn't he do 4 terms? Yeah, Franklin D. Roosevelt, ran for 4 terms, but I think that was because of wartime. So that's the thing. That's the point I'm making is that like, can you imagine a scenario where like Trump started a war? It's not crazy. Like imagine a scenario where Trump started a war, tinfoil hat time, but started a war with like Venezuela or something like that, and actually had like troops on the ground, something overthrowing a dictatorship, something, and it just so happened to coincide with an election cycle, and he used that as the starting point to run for a third term. Wartime only, but that's the point I'm making. Trump would start a war to have another term. Yeah, 100%. 100% he would. I don't think it's outside the realms of possibility. Like, I would say that that's something you should be, don't put your net worth on Polymarket on him not running for a third term. I'll put it that way. He joins Ukraine against Russia. I don't know, man. I could genuinely see it. We just crossed the 5 o'clock mark where I am, so we're going to call it there for today. I want to thank our panelists, as always. We had Victor, Osbert, Luke, and Perdu today. Always a pleasure talking charts and markets with these big brains, and I want to thank you all for giving us your time today. We will be back next week for the next edition of the Chroma Team Roundtable. Until then, guys, stay safe. Interesting market at the moment. Lots of headline risk to come at the end of this week, particularly with regard to the US government shutdown and the data releases on Thursday and Friday. So just stay safe as always, manage your risk, and we'll see you in the server. Take it easy, guys. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers.